Welcome to the stage, Disconnect, which is part of the 2.0 competition.
When we browse or search the web, we share loads of our personal data. Some of what we share is obvious and are things that we want others to know, like an address to ship a product to or a status message. But most of the data we share is non-obvious and are things that, given the choice, we'd probably rather keep to ourselves. Like if we go to any web page that loads content from a social network that we're part of, the web page that we've gone to, as well as our name and other personal data, actually gets sent to the social network. Or when we do a search and we happen to be logged into any of the search engine's other services, again, the query that we've entered and our name and other data get sent to the search engine. So today, big chunks of our browsing and search history, which are likely to contain sensitive health, financial, and other info, are being collected outside of our browsers. And this isn't some theoretical problem. Even the largest online companies have had lots of trouble keeping our personal info to themselves. There's been case after case after case where our personal data has been leaked. So privacy tools, web privacy tools, have been around for a decade or so. And while they're powerful, they tend, I think it's fair to say, they're designed by engineers for engineers. They can be tricky to configure, confusing to use, and they tend to break or slow down the web. Here's a shot of Google Maps before and after with one of these tools running. And that's where Disconnect comes in. Disconnect is a browser extension that lets you control your data. And the extension is designed for everybody. I'm going to show you how easy Disconnect is to install and configure. So from the extension installation page in Chrome, I'm just going to hit the install button. I'm going to confirm, and I'm completely done. If I go to any web page now, the first thing you'll notice is I get a real-time counter of all the tracking requests that are blocked on the page. Disconnect knows about and can block more than 100 third parties and search engines. If you want more details about exactly what's being blocked, you can click on this counter. And rather than show you a long laundry list of blocked services, Disconnect does some smart auto-categorization. So we have the major third parties and search engines broken out. And then we have categories for advertising, analytics, and social networking services. If you want even more details, these are expandable. These categories are expandable and collapsible. And the third parties are also hyperlinked if you happen to not know what one of them is. So now if we look at the web page itself, I think the killer feature of Disconnect in terms of making privacy simple is that on the page, Disconnect will show you exactly what's being blocked. So wherever blocked content would have been rendered, we see these Disconnect blue boxes. And if we look really closely, you can even see tracking pixels on the page. And if you mouse over these boxes, you can see exactly what content would have been there. Here's some content from Facebook, an ad from OpenX, and so on. And the really cool part is that if you click on these boxes, rather than having to unblock a service and reload the entire page, the content will be loaded immediately in line. Now, of course, when I'm clicking, I'm sending my data to these third parties, but at least Disconnect gives you the chance to make a conscious decision about whether you want to share your data or not. So you might have noticed that the request counter was blue before, it's turned red now. Disconnect also does color-coded indicators, so you don't have to keep track of the state of hundreds of services. The details panel is also color-coded. And I want to show you one last feature of Disconnect. So I mentioned search tracking earlier, and Disconnect helps with that as well. So if I should be logged into Google now. If I run a search here, you'll see that Google knows exactly who I am. But if I click on this depersonalized searches option in Disconnect, reload the page, my personal info is stripped out of that search. And if I go back in there, unclick again, and reload, I'll get personalized searches again. Oops. So as of a few minutes ago, Disconnect is available for Chrome and Safari. The Safari version was ported with the help of another startup called WebMind, who's building a really cool cross-browser extension framework, and we're working to bring versions of Disconnect to more browsers soon. So if you want to join me in taking control of the data we share, you can grab these extensions at disconnector.com. Thank you.
Okay. Panel, what did you think of Disconnector?
I'll jump in. I actually use your extension. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The parts that I'm concerned about is how do you turn it into a business?
That's very easy. You collect cookies, and you know who is interested in this kind of product.
That's the plan B.
Yeah, yeah. So the question is like, with what's consistent with your values and why people are wanting to use the extension, what's the interesting business you can build off of it?
So I think what I'm targeting is some premium services layered on top of the free version, what the free version offers. I think that there's sort of a sea change in that people are becoming more and more interested in privacy as they're learning more about what's actually happening online. And I think there probably is a market for some premium services on top of what I've done already.
Got it, thanks.
Did you intentionally choose a typeface for your logo that's so similar to Facebook?
Yes, and a color scheme.
And the Zuckerberg look also goes with that?
That wasn't intentional, but I suppose so.
I wonder sort of in the long term, sort of who you think ends up being most likely to acquire. And the reason I ask is this strikes me most similarly as something, if you remember, called Zone Alarm, which the important thing about Zone Alarm is it worked in the OS layer, which is where the rest of the McAfee or whoever bought its stack was. And it was an easy bolt-on acquisition for them to integrate into, I think it was maybe Symantec or I forget, Norton or something, whatever, they're all the same. And the problem with putting it in the browser is that those players don't play in the browser. And so they have a hard time acquiring things in the browser. So the question is, can you move it into the stack that they would acquire? Because this is something very obvious that they would acquire. It is Zone Alarm for social. I totally get it. So just a thought about strategy for the business. You might be actually hurting yourself by making it one step easier to actually install it, obviously, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So I think the antivirus guys are moving or have moved a little bit into the browser, and maybe more so as the browser becomes the OS with Chrome if that ever takes off. But
yeah, I mean the other way then is to do the, I forget what it is, SiteSeer, SiteWatch that did the grading, the Google anti-spam stuff when you sort of go into, I mean those are the two trajectories that you have analogous history for, and I think you sit sort of uncomfortably in between those two. So from a endpoint perspective, I think you need to veer down one path. That's my perspective.
Interesting.
Any other feedback? Dave?
I'm sorry, for people who know me, this is a product that's not built for me.
Yeah.
I don't get this shit at all. Like, I mean, this is for people who don't want to be discovered or seen online, I guess?
I really like this.
Okay. How many people use this? Like 1 to 5% of population, I guess? Maybe?
I would hope more would be interested in privacy over time. I think probably now it's a 1% market.
So people who are afraid of being watched or like deal with online. Okay, so like small minority.
You'll never go broke
Yeah.
underestimating the C- students that make up this country, and they are becoming more and more concerned about their
No, but I mean, I think
privacy.
it's probably a more intelligent audience than less. I mean, well, there's probably people who are just afraid, which is very low intelligence, but I think there are people who are aware of all the shit that's going on and are suitably afraid. But I still don't think this is large market.
You need the C- to B+. You need those people.
Yeah.
You get to the A- and then they know too much. But in between there, they're getting hit by the 11 o'clock news because they're still getting their news from television.
I don't know. I'm not target market, so my feedback doesn't matter for shit. Like, this is not interesting to me, but sorry. I know.
It makes sense. I'm a B, so I'm right in that range.
Yeah. If it used to be if it bleeds, it leads, and now it's all fear-based. And there's an issue of privacy in the consumer's face every day, all day. How do you protect? How do you protect? How do you protect? And it's those C- to B+ students that I think are searching for answers, and this could very well be one of them.
I thought it was a good presentation. Chris value prop, the UI was good. I mean, I understand what it does. To me, the fact that even if it is 1% of the world or 1 to 5%, that's plenty of people. I mean, it's a huge global population of internet users, and I think that's fine. So I think the big issue will just be, does this become like a browser feature at some point? Is it just like ultimately like a pop-up blocker or something like that? And how do you stay ahead of sort of native browser functionality. But otherwise, I liked it.
Luckily, the browsers are made by Microsoft and Google, who have a vested interest in not protecting your privacy.
Yeah, there you go.
I would advise you to zero on the Jewish market because we are brought up paranoid, so this fits us very well.
How many people in the audience have Disconnect or something similar installed? Oh, some good number. How many people are concerned about privacy? Okay, wow, that says a lot. A question from the grand jury.
Are you surprised?
Of the people who said they were concerned about privacy, how many of you actively taken the time to download a browser extension to deal with it? Yeah, that's not more than a third of the people who raised their hands. So you might care about privacy, but you don't do fucking anything about it.
Marshall Kirkpatrick from Read Write Web, the site in question. The example. I'm curious what the most terrible thing that one of our advertisers has done to you has been, what the actual risks of these cookies and supposed privacy violations are, or whether it's just on principle. Because I know we write on the left-hand column of our site a lot about the incredible potential of user activity data as a platform for innovation, and I worry that people taking advantage of the fear around supposed privacy violations like this put at risk huge opportunities when the actual risks in these cases aren't nearly as big as some other privacy violations.
So first off, I'm not picking on Read Write Web. It's one of my favorite sites. It just has a lot of third-party stuff on it. So I think one of the things that's been really lost in this debate is that the government and browser vendors have really focused on advertisers. And advertisers, as far as I know, aren't primarily the problem because advertisers don't have your name. But the social networks do. And I showed about 10 articles where people's names had gotten out associated with their browsing or search history. So this has happened, it does happen, it will continue to happen. It's just really hard to control data, even if you're, have a super big, smart team of computer scientists doing so.
So can I jump back in? I think I got this now.
Yes.
So you need to be super animated, same feedback as the last presenter. You're bored with this. And this is a revolution. This is Facebook is stealing my fucking data and doing things with it that I don't know anything about, and I want it back, right? That should be your mantra and rallying cry. There's a revolution going on around privacy. We're going to take control of your privacy. We're going to pay you to take care of your privacy. We're going to figure out how to monetize in ways that you care about, and fuck that Facebook, and fuck Apple, and fuck Google. That's how you should go after this. Then I'd be oh yeah, I need this product. I want this product. It's gonna take care of me and make sure none of these scary ghosts or goblins come after me. But I'm not getting that from the disconnect. Disconnect with an exclamation point. Disconnect. Sell it, baby.
This guy is using not nice language.
I'll give you a great example of where some of this leakage comes out right now. So I was actually answering a question on Quora about one of our investors, Entrada, taking a very sort of professional tone and writing a very nice note about how they've been great to us. And I posted it, and I realized that Quora had pulled in my current Facebook picture, which was a picture of me dressed up like Santa Claus with a bottle of Jameson in a club dancing on the table. Not necessarily the best endorsement for a Google-backed company. So this was a bit of a problem because there's all this sort of leakage between the networks. I think the other good example now is I went recently from Facebook to a Living Social landing page. Now, I'm not picking on Living Social because I think a lot of people do this. When you land on that landing page, it shows pictures of all of your friends and their names that like Living Social. It's a very benign example, but I'm being used to promote products externally out of Facebook to my friends. You can see where that gets very dicey depending on what landing page you land on and what of your friends are associated with promoting that product because they don't know they're promoting that product. I think that's the most interesting, challenging piece. Interestingly
enough, Michael Arrington and I were both added to NAMBLA the day Facebook groups came out. But it says something about our friends. Let's hear it for Disconnect. Awesome.